home. I attended school there 2 years. It's Memphis, Tennessee, and of course we boast about all of our great musicians from Memphis, Tennessee, like Charles Lord and Booker Little and Phineas Newborn and Calvin Newborn and George Coleman, and you can just go on, and for years you could go on and on, right, Phineas?
Right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you for some time.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since we talked. In fact, when you were out here a number of years ago recording for Contemporary Records, and of course some engagements you were playing then. But it's good to see you, Phineas, and I know that you're getting ready to get very active on the scene again. You have a concert coming up. I'm sure you're getting ready to record, and we're really waiting for some stuff from you, too.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the concert.
Yeah, your concert there, which will be a kind of a bicentennial salute to jazz piano. That's quite a thing there. Are you looking forward? I know you're looking forward to it. But what's going to happen on the concert? What are you going to be doing? You know?
Oh, I plan to get into a few of the old-time things concerning jazz, piano playing, you know. And as a matter of fact, ragtime had lots to do with it, so did swing. And the boogie woogie came out after the swing, during the swing era time, you know. Right. So I plan to get into it all and work right up to my own contemporary ideas and everything.
Beautiful. You know, ladies and gentlemen, Phineas Newborn, not only is he one of our greatest jazz stylists on the piano, but he is also a man who has contributed a lot to the evolution of great jazz piano. In fact, his style of playing the same thing with both hands at the same time, and of course he's the only one that can really do it because he has many imitators, including some of our big people to imitate you with that. Phineas, how did you come across that idea of doing the thing in octaves there with each hand simultaneously at the same time, you know?
Oh, Oscar Denard and I played that way for years, you know. And, Hannon books I used to study, you know, for classical Hannon exercises for piano dexterity, for finger dexterity and everything, articulation and all that bit. Yeah. I used to study that book, you know, but I got tired of playing everything in C. So I decided to deal further along my own personal lines with what was happening with playing octaves, you know. Yeah. See, because his entire Hannon book consists of lots of that type of stuff, you know. And it's a wonderful book for classical music, you know, true enough. But it grows monotonous that everything is in the same key, you know. Right. Throughout the whole book. Yeah. All the exercises in the key of C. And except for transposing these things yourself, you don't have any way to get any real significance out of playing, you know, out of this book concerning jazz piano playing, you know, or playing jazz generally. See, I like to sound like a horn at times, you know. Play lines that think about Charlie Parker, Lester Young, or somebody, you know.
So, well, look, Phineas, that brings us to this question. You know, you're a pretty young fellow. When did you get interested and started in jazz, actually playing, you know?
Oh, when I was about 6 years old.
You started playing then, huh?
Yeah, my father was a musician, you know. He played the drums. And I started studying with a piano player that was working in the band that he was playing with during the time I was about 6 or 7 years old, you know. And he started teaching me right away. And I've always been fond of jazz, you know. I was generally
the music
I wanted to deal with personally and everything, you know. And by the time I became 9 or 10 years old, I started working with bands around the Memphis area. You know, Willie Mitchell. You know Willie Mitchell?
I heard of him.
Trumpet player.
Right, sure.
He used to have a fine band around there, you know. There were lots of good bands in that city. You know that, though.
Dub Jenkins. You remember Dub Jenkins, They used to tear it up down there. Yeah. Playing rockin' and rhythm just like Duke and them and all that stuff. Yeah. It was a little before your time when they were around there, huh? Did Doug play a lot after you? Doug play a lot after you were
No,
playing?
Doug was working in Birdland the last time I saw him, as a matter of fact. As a waiter, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, in Birdland, New York.
That's right. I talked with him many times. Phineas, want to get with you again with the piano. So you are really, like we say, you are not just a piano player. When they start really putting the stuff down like it really is, you are right up there with the very top, which must have taken a lot of study and a lot of practice. I'm sure you must have done. Is that true, along with your playing?
Yeah. I studied lots of classical music. I love classical music, you know.
Yeah.
The fine old composers and everything, the masters. Yeah, I love the work of the masters.
What's some of your...
you more than likely influenced by some of these people.
What are some of your
Bach,
favorites? Bach, Beethoven,
Brahms, Chopin, Liszt.
Yeah, the very...
Mozart.
Right.
You know.
How about you get into any of the other guys like Shostakovich, Prokofiev, Khachaturian, Deande, Villalobos, Manuel de Falla.
Stravinsky.
See, oh yeah. And in other words, I see where your vast knowledge comes from, because you really have to get into this. Yeah, Petrushka, sure, Rake, all of those things, very heavy.
Yeah.
Well, this really explains to us why you are really into the heavy harmonic structure of jazz, also the evolution of motivation in jazz. That's moving fast at any tempo, but with sure-footedness and with actually just about perfect. You know what, Phineas, on the show we do a little talking with the career, and then we get into the music. I'm anxious today to take part in both, because I love to listen to your music, and we're going to get into it. What's the first musical selection for today?
Well, I suggested Willow Weep for Me. How about that?
Beautiful one. I love that because I arranged it for Ella Fitzgerald on her album not too long ago.
I might tell you first that there's a Oscar Pettiford tune right before Willow Weep for Me. It's kind of a segue on the album. It's kind of a medley, so it's Lorraine's Walk first, then Willow Weep for Me right after that.
A bonus. beautiful version of Willow Wheat for Me by our in-person guest today on Jazz Capsule, Phineas Newborn, here with a very fine arrangement on Willow Wheat for Me, and just a little touch of Art Tatum in there, very beautiful, and really wonderful. Right on the very end, you end up just in a pure, perfect triads, really something else, Phineas.
Thank you.
Phineas Newborn with us today, ladies and gentlemen. And Phineas, we're going to get back into you now about your career. You, in the late 50s, you were featured on one of the biggest concerts ever, along with Count Basie and Billy Eckstine and so many more. Sarah Vaughan, yeah.
Everything like that.
You were a very young man to be right there in that position. How'd you feel then? Was it a good feeling? Did you enjoy the tour with all
Very
of those
good feeling. It was a fine feeling to work with all these great stars, you know.
Uh-huh.
Bud Powell was there, too.
Bud Powell was on the show, too.
Lester Young.
Yeah, Lester Young. Wow, really some giants.
Mm-hmm. Chet Baker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For a while. Chet Baker dropped out in the midst of the tour, but he was there for some time anyway with a quintet.
Uh-huh.
And, well, as a matter of fact, I think he had about 8 pieces, you know. The group was so large, they decided to drop him out of the show.
Too big, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, you know.
Well, tell me this: you had your own group with you? Or were you playing just with the piano solo deal?
I had my group with me. I had a quartet with me. My brother was working with me. Calvin was with me at the time, you know. And as a matter of fact, I kept the group together from 56 until 59 or 60, you know. And he was with me all that time, except when he was in the military service. He went in the Army for a while. And all the time he was in the Army, though, he was stationed right around New York City at Fort Dix in New Jersey. You know? And I had the opportunity to work with him some while he was in the Army, but not quite so much as before and after, you know.
Speaking of New York, when did you go to New York, and how long did you stay right around there in New York, Phineas?
Well, I came out of the Army in 1955 and worked with my father's band in Memphis, Tennessee, at a place called the Flamingo Room. You remember the Flamingo Room?
Well, I've heard of it, but I don't
Well, it was after the time when you were there. I'm sure I remember just about when you were there, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a place called the Flamingo Room, and my father had a show band there. My brother was sliding across the floor playing guitar behind his head.
Yeah.
Things like that.
T-Bone Walker. Huh?
Yeah, you know.
Or maybe T-Bone like him. I don't know. Vice versa, whatever.
Yeah, it was a show. Always had for the show. So I started working with him, and after a while it bored me. So I decided to organize my own group and move to New York City. You know.
Yeah.
So Calvin decided to go with me, my brother. And there was a bass player that was working with B.B. King named George Joyner, Jamil Nasser, you know.
Yeah.
And we decided to leave Memphis alone for a while. You know, I met Count Basie, and he was so enthusiastic about my playing and everything. He was pleading to me to come to New York City and get a group or something going on my own, do some recording, you know. So I did, and I was quite a success right away, you know. In 1956, I recorded Here is Phineas for Atlantic Recording Company, and it was well received. It's one of the first LPs, long-playing records, that's been released on the market, as a matter of fact. It was at the very beginning. It was during the time they were just releasing LPs, you know. No more 78s for a change. I had made a 78 for Progressive Peacock Jazz, though. You remember Don Roby in Houston,
Don Roby in Houston, sure. Had a hotel and everything, promoted dances and everything.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what, Phineas, you were speaking of Count Basie, so the Count encouraged you to come. And, of course, you know the Count's in town right now. Have you talked with him since he's been here?
No, I haven't had the opportunity.
Well, you know he's in town, the band with the big show there at the Shooter with Ella Fitzgerald and Oscar Peterson and Joe Pass.
Yes.
But the Count is really...
I expect to I plan to go Saturday night, you know,
Yeah.
to the Shubert Theater.
Right.
Yeah.
The great Count Basie. You know, I was lucky enough, Phineas, also to be with Count myself for 2 years, and you know, Count is
nice.
the kind of man that you just love, because if you ever play with Count Basie's band or work for the Count, you know, the way he treats you is really something. Beautiful man.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy working with the Count then, really, on that show? I mean, I know you enjoyed, but you really dug it, I'm sure.
Great opposite Basie quite a lot. As a matter of fact, every year for 4 or 5 years, we went in Birdland during the Christmas and New Year celebration, you know.
Yeah.
During the Christmas and New Year holidays. Every year, we... Morris Levy and the fellows would make arrangements for Basie and I to come into Birdland for 4 years, you know, and so we could be at home in New York. You know, I was living in New York at the time, and we had lots of wonderful times. Occasionally I'd sit there with the band, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Phineas, we're going to get back and talk some more, but right now we're going to try to get into some more music, because we have, like we said, plenty of time. We've got plenty of records here. And what are we going to get into next? Anything special that you know? What would you suggest next?
For recording?
No, not for right now. We'd like to play now for our next selection on the program. You know, Percy Mayfield. How'd you happen to do that number? Please send me someone to love.
Please send me someone to love. Yeah. That's a nice one.
Hey, well, you know, that's great. I love that too, because that's another one I've had some dealings with for Nancy Wilson and Les McCann. So actually, I've arranged this number. Actually, 3 times. I did it once again too for a guy that used to record over for Herb Alpert. In fact, I made the arrangements for Herb Alpert. What was his name? Remember that singer? Anyway, 3 times for Please Send Me Someone to Love, but it's really a great number, I think. Percy Mayfield.
Good.
Here is Phineas Newborn's version of that number. Phineas Newborn, from his album Please Send Me Someone to Love. We've just heard the title track, a composition by Percy Mayfield. Featured here with Phineas, Ray Brown on bass and Elvin Jones on drums. Really some masters backing you there, Phineas.
Thank you. I think so too. They're both wonderful players.
You know, you're going to be playing the concert pretty soon. Who's going to appear with you on the concert, by the way?
Ray Brown and Dick Burke.
Oh, yeah? Ray will be with you again.
Yeah.
And Dick Burke, of course, really a fine drummer, too. You guys been putting it together, or is it going to be spontaneous? You got some special stuff you're going to be putting together, huh?
Yeah, we have some special things we're going to work on.
Scott Joplin, you going to do any Scott Joplin stuff?
I plan to open the show with the entertainer.
With the entertainer, the big one, huh? You play the Maple Leaf Rag, too?
Maple Leaf Rag?
You play the Maple Leaf Rag?
No, I never played that. I've heard it. I've listened to it, though.
Yeah. That was Scott's really first big hit, Maple Leaf Rag. Of course, the entertainer with the Sting really put the entertainer over the top there. But for years, that Maple Leaf Rag made it. And the Maple Leaf Rag, you know how that happened? That was a club in Sedalia, Missouri, the Maple Leaf Club. They had a big festival there not too long ago, honoring Scott Joplin. Pretty good. He used to work there.
I should get that. I can probably get the music to it, there.
What, the entertainer?
No, the Maple Leaf Rag.
Oh, Maple Leaf Rag, sure. Yeah. Earl Hines plays the Maple Leaf Rag on one of his albums, and he does really a great job with it, too, swinging it. Great arrangement. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Phineas Newborn, and we're going to be back with Phineas because Dennis has some action here, and I think a little bit of news, and then we'll be back with more music and more talk with our in-person guest, Phineas Newborn. Do some composing, too, I imagine, don't you? You ever do any writing? Have you recorded many of your original things?
Quite a lot of them, yeah.
I sure wish you would...
There's one original thing in this solo album.
Oh, yeah? On this?
Yeah.
Brentwood?
That's on another one.
Live and Love.
Live and Love? Okay, well, we'll get both of them before the day is over. Brentwood Blues, yes. And but right now, we're going to hear an original composition by our guest, ladies and gentlemen. This time, a number titled...
Live and Love.
Live and Love. When did you write this, Finney?
Oh, quite a number of years ago. I'm just getting around to recording it, but I composed that music in the 50s. And for some uncanny reason, I never managed to get around to recording it. Recording this one particular original, you know. I have recorded quite a lot of original material for various companies that I've recorded for, and... just you said, the Brentwood Blues is original.
Yeah, good. We'll
that's on Please Send Me Someone to Love, isn't it? Or is it?
Right, we'll get to that.
Newborn Touch.
A little later in the program. Right now, we're going to go with Live and Love.
Live and Love, yes.
Okay, this is Phineas Newborn Jr., his own composition, Live and Love. Phineas Newborn Jr. This is Phineas Newborn with his own composition this time, Live in Love. And this is from his album, Phineas Newborn Jr. Solo Piano. And we'll get back with our guest now and get into a little more talk about the career. You know what, Phineas, you attended school in Memphis, I imagine, huh? What are some of the schools you attended there? And did you study music in the school?
I attended Booker Washington High School there.
Oh.
And Manassas. I was there during the days when W.T. McDaniel was commuting back and forth from Manassas to Booker Washington, you know.
Oh, teaching music?
And what he would do was spend half a day at one school and half a day at the other school with the band, you know. And I was commuting right with him there. I was playing with both orchestras, the Rhythm Bombers and the Booker Teasers.
Yeah. You know? Hey, well, that's really a change because, you know, when I was attending Manassas, you know, Manassas and Booker T, like we wait for the year for the football games and everything to really get into the competition. Because we had trouble when I was finished with the band because we had to go and get Mr. Love, who lived down on Beale and Hernando. Yeah. You remember Mr. Love played trumpet and used to teach music around Memphis?
Yeah, I remember him.
And we would have to get together, see, and we would have to put in 50 cents each week to pay him because at that time the schools could not afford to pay to teach music there. But we convinced him that we needed him and he'd come down and teach us. You remember him though, huh?
Yeah.
And it's a good thing we had people like Mr. Love around because had it not been for him, then you know, when we would get to other schools, like when I got to Detroit, if it hadn't been for the teaching that Mr. Love had given me, I would have been in deep trouble. So I know Memphis is proud, and I know you remember him. One other thing, Booker T, Washington, they always had a pretty nice band there too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you play in the...
it was a competitive thing. The various bands would compete against each other. And Booker Washington and Manassas had about the best two bands in the city, you know.
Yeah.
But there were other bands around. Melrose even had one that was nice during those days, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, I was thinking, too, some of the other guys out of Memphis, Tennessee there, George Jonah and Booker Little, did you all get together and play in Memphis?
Yeah.
Just with, you know, like have groups together and stuff?
I worked with Booker Little, and Booker Little's cousin is a fine trumpet player. He was his teacher, as a matter of fact. He's somewhat older than Booker, you know, but his name is Edward Louis Smith. You remember him?
Yeah, sure. Louis Smith.
Louis
right.
Smith, he's fine trumpet player.
Yeah, he taught Booker Little, huh?
Yeah.
Booker Little was such an exceptional trumpet player.
He certainly was.
It's really something, and you feel that Louis may be the man responsible for it.
As a matter of fact, I played a little trumpet myself.
You do, huh? Did you play trumpet with the groups? With any of the bands? Yeah. Play that good, huh?
Yeah, I played trumpet and tenor saxophone, as a matter of fact, with my father's band. I was playing vibraphone, and I'd alternate from tenor to trumpet, you know. Yeah. My brother played trombone and flute, you know. Everybody was doubling.
Really a family band you could almost have, huh?
Yeah, my brother's wife was playing trombone and piano and singing, you know, and she was a fine vocalist.
Yeah. Must have been
we had a wonderful band. It was a nice band, you know. But it wasn't really what I wanted to do at the time. So I decided to break up the band and get a quartet so I could play the piano more, you know. So I was interested in...
Who was your influences on piano? Your first influence? Who were you? You know, who did you like?
Well, Art Tatum was one I liked. Fats Waller was another. And Nat Cole is one of my favorites. Yeah. He's one of my favorite piano players. He, as quiet as it's kept, he was quite a phenomenal pianist. You know?
Definitely.
Beautiful jazz pianist.
Right, and not only that, he really knew what he was doing, too.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't guessing about anything. I had the pleasure of working with Nat many times, and an exceptional musician. In fact, the day I met him was when he brought an arrangement to the Jimmy Lunsford band to play. Now, you know, he had to be heavy to be coming up with some arrangements with the Lunsford band.
Yeah.
And he brought us a fine one, Nat Cole. Many great pianists like Nat King Cole. Other guys, too, I've heard say that. What are some of the other guys, say the young moderns that might have influenced you? Who would say the first young modern that influenced you?
Young modern?
I mean, the first young modern that was able to play in the idiom of the bebop idiom, able to go from...
I like Ahmad Jamal is one of my favorite pianists. I like him very much. Ahmad he plays very beautiful things, you know. And he's a fine pianist. and he's very conscientious about what he's doing, you know. And anyway, we used to sit up at Mixton Hotel Lounge there in Memphis, Tennessee, and play for hours together, you know.
Yeah.
And Oscar Denard is one who never achieved lots of international popularity, you know, as I did, but he was one of the finest pianists to come out of the Mid-South that I know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
He was Oscar Denard. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him, yes.
Yeah, he was
really something. I never heard him. They tell me he was really something.
Yeah.
Kind of a legend, like.
Yeah.
Just like Buster Smith down in Dallas, Texas. I think he's taught many of the fine saxophone players like David Newman and the young fella that plays with Ray Charles. And even I understand he had some dealings with Charlie Parker. Did you ever hear of him, Buster Smith?
Buster Smith, I've heard of him, yes.
So anyway, we're getting into these things. We get into the areas of the people who really help in jazz, because to learn to play jazz and to learn to play music, you meet many different people and you get help from many musicians. Did you find it that way during your career?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, Phineas Newborn Jr. here. We're going to stay with the music. This time, again, Phineas, we're going to go to another original by you. This is called Brentwood Blues. When did you do this one? When did you make that?
In the 60s, around 1965, I suppose, 66.
And it's a blues, of course, huh?
Yes.
Any special thing about it you'd like to tell us about it?
No, I don't have anything to say about it.
Brentwood Blues.